open my Cheetos. Alright, class. Who's ready to learn about some guilty fucking gear? Baby! Show dick, please. I'm okay. Maybe some other time. Chat is the thing is being weirdly selective about which, things it wants to show. What's going on here? There we go. Just being weird. Hang on, chat's being, like, weird. Apologies, 1 second. Boys, girls, and gremlins. Alright, I guess it's fine now. That was weird. Okay. So, what do you guys want to know about Guilty Gear? Any questions about any particular characters or events or any other information? Sin lore. History of Bedman. What the fuck is the Guilty Gear? Hi, Luna Serenity. Okay, so I think we need to start with the dawn of revival. So, the Guilty Gear timeline is basically the exact same as ours, up until 1999, when something called the Dawn of Revival happens. And the Dawn of Revival was when every single electronic device in the world instantaneously, all at once, freaked the fuck out. And all the scientists concluded, apparently, that the only explanation for this is that an extraterrestrial or a something was trying to manifest itself through our technology. Luckily, nothing ended up happening. But the fear was that the thing would try to do it again. So the United Nations did the only sensible thing and banned all technology. Pretty much. What counts as technology is anything that has, like, circuitry in it. So no more computers, no more cell phones. Cars, I'm pretty sure, got banned. More or less. What else? Guns? I don't think guns got banned necessarily because they were, like, technology, but they got banned in the swoop after. Like, anything that you use today that was invented past, like, the 18th or 19th century that requires, like, electricity is fucking gone. So naturally, as a result of this, humanity entered a mini dark age because all the technology was banned. No more heart monitors. Sorry, Gma. Yeah, your grandma's fucking dead. We can't let that alien or whatever it was revive itself. Or not even revive itself, just manifest itself. But anyways. So, all the technology is banned. Humanity enters a mini dark age for obvious reasons, because all the technology is fucked and gone. And there's a period of just complete strife and societal meltdown and horror. But then, Oh god, what are these guys called? The Apostles? I don't think the Apostles is the right word. What the fuck were they? The Apostles sounds right. At least they had showers. Yeah, showers are fine. It's basically anything with electricity that got banned. But the Apostles... Let me look this up. I'm not quite a 100% expert. I'm pretty sure these guys were called the Apostles, though. The Apostles? Let me just make sure. Apostles, yeah. Okay. So then these guys known as the Apostles show up and teach humanity that, yes, magic is in fact a thing that exists. And it is a source of unlimited energy. And anybody can do it, basically. And it's free, and it doesn't follow, like, the laws of entropy, really, and you can kind of just do it. So is Guilty Gear kind of steampunky? Guilty Gear has ended up with a weird, technology through magic thing. Like, Guilty Gear is very strange, because most soldiers in Guilty Gear are like knights, but they use magically enhanced weaponry. More like Magitech. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you've ever played Final Fantasy 6 or 7, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's rad as hell. Who is that man? I'll get to that man. So for the next 10 years or so, the Apostles guide humanity with magic and try to reform society. And try to get past, like, the use of technology. And everything is fine and great for a while. I'm eating my Cheeto. Excuse me. Then, the Gear Project begins. I'm pretty sure that's the next major event. Let me pull up the Guilty Gear timeline just to make positive. Right, okay, Dawn of Revival happens, the Apostles show up and teach humanity about magic. Around this time, black tech is completely outlawed. Black tech refers to anything like guns, electricity, anything with, like, circuitry. Most vehicles, I think, end up banned. So that's all black tech now. Then in 2014, the Gear Project begins. With the purpose of finding a way to use magic to strengthen and enhance mankind physically. By, like, restructuring our genes using magic. It is not certain which country started this. It is heavily implied to be the United States. So, now we get into actual characters. There are 3 people that matter in this. A guy named Frederick. A guy who is now simply known as That Man, and Arya. Those guys were the 3 major contributors to the Gear Project. Now, a gear cell is a magically infused cell, right? That's the research that they were doing, was trying to figure out a way to make, like, for both medical reasons of, like, yeah, let's zap cancer with fucking gear cells and see what happens, and also because the United States apparently wanted, like, super weapons humans, because of course they did. Then in 2016, Frederick becomes the first prototype gear, and low-key loses his mind for a second, destroys a big part of the facility, and runs the fuck away. Then throughout the course of the next 60-ish years or so, That Man continues to work on the Gear Project, makes countless, like, prototype gears, not prototype, but, like, beta gears that aren't quite his perfect design. And then in 2073, that man creates Justice, what he considers to be the perfect gear. When does Batman become a thing? Wait about 200 years. Actually, not quite 200, more like 100 years. Does anybody have any questions so far? Now, this entire time, that man was basically doing this with minimal funding. Like, I think the government had kind of stopped giving a shit after the prototype broke out and destroyed a lot of the lab. So at this point, he was kind of working low-key, right? But then, once Justice is finished, the United States is like, yeah, this is cool, we'll start funding this again. And because of that, Frederick learns that that man is still doing this shit and begins designing something known as the Outrage. And that's spelled out and then capital R, rage. So it's like the Outrage. And the Outrage is the single most powerful magical weapon humanity has ever designed. That man did the Gear Project. Why did he do it? We will get into that. So, the Outrage is a weapon of such incredible power that it literally cannot be used. He really fucked up in designing this. Thing is, what the fuck was in the technology that caused humanity to be like, now we're throwing this away? Well, it wasn't what was in the technology, it was the fact that something tried to manifest itself through the technology, and for like an entire day completely fucked all the tech. So right, the Outrage. He designs the Outrage, and then realizes, okay, wait a minute. This thing is too powerful to be used by, like, anybody. And this guy is Frederick is extremely powerful, because he's a gear. And the thing about gears is that gears are bioweapons designed for the sole purpose of killing things. They are very hard to kill, those gears. So he splits the Outrage into 6 pieces. The 6 pieces off the top of my head are the Fire Seal, the Thunder Seal, the, oh fuck, what are the other ones? I forget what they're called, but they're the fans that Angie uses, which is like wind. I don't think it's actually called the Wind Seal. There's one piece is a dagger. Oh fuck, I'm just gonna look it up. I don't remember what all the pieces were. The Outrage. The Fire Seal, the Thunder Seal, the Zessen, which are the fans that use wind magic. The Senga, which uses light magic. The Ekitoku, which is... and the Kojo Haku. Nobody knows where those pieces are at. And then there's one last piece which some guy has. And each one of them controls an aspect of magic. I forgot to go into the details of magic, but magic can be broken up into like 6-ish major elements. And then there's like a 7th one, which is fucked. So there's fire magic, thunder or lightning magic, wind magic, light magic, which is like this weird shit that exists, but nobody knows how to use it. What other kinds of magic are there? I think that's the main ones. So there's fire, lightning, water, wind, and ki. And then there's light, which, like I said, is like weird bullshit. Ki is the most powerful kind of magic. And ki is unique in that most people can eventually figure out how to use a type of magic. Ki is almost exclusive to Japanese people. Like, there are a couple people who can use ki that are not Japanese, like Jam is Chinese and he can use it. What about the magical beast? We'll get into the magical beast. But, yeah, those are the types of magic. Chinese can also use ki. I think only Jam can use ki. It's just that Jam happens to be Chinese and she's figured out how to use it. No, it's specifically a Japanese thing. But it takes intense training to learn it if you're not Japanese. Like, Chip knows how to do it, but he's been trained... I think Chip mostly uses lightning magic, actually, but... Other people use Ki Blast. Yes, basically. Right, so... Frederick makes the outrage, realizes it's too fucking powerful, and splits it up into 6 pieces. He holds on to one of them. Or maybe he doesn't, actually. I don't know. The shit with the outrage is complicated, but... Why is it only the Japanese can use it, though? I'm not sure. The Japanese are special for a different reason. But it has nothing to do with ki, I don't think. Or maybe it does. Yeah, it does, actually. But it's because of the ki that they're special. I don't know if there's an explanation for why they can use the ki. Ki is the strongest kind of magic. Except for a certain kind that we will get into later. Is this weapon a part of the outrage? Yes. 2 pieces of the junkyard dog, which is the weapon he uses, are pieces of the outrage. Okay, so... This is a part of the lore that's kind of inconsistent, because there was a retcon. So, that man has created justice at this point. Also, there's a reason why he is just called that man, but we'll find out why that is in a second. So, naturally, now that the United States has used, has created these gears, or that man has created these gears and he's being funded by the United States, they're like, fuck yeah, dude, let's use these crazy bioweapons to take over the world. And also, a gear can take the shape of basically anything. Most of them are kind of like these weird dragon-looking things. But there are some that are just like enormous spheres. And there's some that are like pretty humanoid. So, the original explanation for what happened here was that... So here's the thing about Justice. Justice is what is considered a command-type gear, which is a perk of being a perfect gear, which means that all other gears will just listen to her, pretty much. However, what the Dingberts at the fucking Gear Project didn't think about is, oh, wait a minute, this gear that can control all the other gears has no inclination towards listening to us and can make all the other gears just fucking follow its commands. Right? So the first thing that Justice does is destroy Japan. Completely annihilate it with a gamma ray. Because they could use ki. Any other types of magic other than ki? Yes, there's fire, lightning, water, wind. Light magic, which is like this weird, hardly ever observed bullshit. And then there's a secret last kind that we'll get into. Nukes it into a crater, like... All that's left of Japan now is a hole that water constantly just flows into. As a result of this, obviously about 99.9% of all the Japanese people died. And she did this... Justice is a female, by the way. Justice did this because they had ki, and she was afraid as hell of the ki. Because ki is extremely powerful. However, there was a retcon in Exard, I believe, for why she shot the laser. But we'll get into that when we get to Exard. So, this begins what is known as the Crusades. Or sometimes this is called, like, just the Gear Wars. The Gear Wars was a 100-year-long conflict against the entirety of humanity and the Gears. And what game are we? We haven't even gotten to Guilty Gear 1. This is all pre-backstory shit. So, the Sacred Order of Holy Knights is formed. The most elite of the elite of humanity's soldiers and magic users. And people just working together, humanity banding together to defeat Justice and the Gears, right? Oh, right. One more thing about the Japanese people. So all the Japanese got fucking wiped out. So an effort was made to kind of round up all the Japanese and put them... For some reason, they thought this was a good idea to put them in, like, a Japanese colony somewhere. I don't remember quite where it's at, but... All the Japanese are basically relocated to that one spot, and that's where they live. So, any questions so far? Right, tell us about that man. So, that man is in like a Voldemort situation, where to the world of Guilty Gear, he is so horrible because he started the Gear Wars, which lasted 100 years, that humanity has, like, intentionally scrubbed his name from history. Gears are just pure evil. Gears are not pure evil. There are some Gears that are actually pretty nice guys. Like, fucking... What was that guy's name? Dr. Paradigm, who's a Gear. And he's a nice guy. It's just the Gears are kind of animalistic, some of them. And they have to obey justice. There is no way to make a command-type Gear, like... A lesser Gear has to listen to a command-type Gear. They just call him Batman because no one remembers his name. Yeah, it's partially just because genuinely nobody knows what that guy was named, and also because a lot of history was spent trying to scrub him from the records. Who's that man? I'll post a picture of that man. It would probably help to actually post pictures of these guys. Explain Saul. Okay, I would love to. That's about when he shows up anyways. Where did that picture just go? Okay. So here it is. This is that man. As he is now. They just purge his bloodline. That man had no kids. So it doesn't really matter. Okay, give us a list of characters tiering them in terms of power. Maybe at the end. He has no face. No, he has a face. He just hides it. But, okay, so the Order of the Holy Knights is formed. They fight against the Gears for a while. And for a long time, there was a guy just fighting the Gears whose name, who did not have a name. Nobody knew what to call the guy. Nobody wanted to talk to him because they were afraid of him, right? Does Frederick have a face? Yes. And Frederick is about to matter in a second again. Because remember, Frederick broke out of the facility after he got turned into a gear. There are no pictures of him? There's no gallery here? Fuck. Here we go. Apologies. I guess there's no picture. I'm trying to find a particular picture, but whatever. Whatever, who cares? Maybe it's in here somewhere? Nope, okay, whatever. So, a guy called... Well, he doesn't have a name. A guy is just going around slaughtering gears. He's like a mercenary, right? Just goes around slaughtering gears with a fucking piece of concrete. Nobody wants to talk to this guy. Everybody's afraid of him. So as a result, they just call him the bad guy. I'll post a picture of the bad guy. As soon as I find it. Here it is. So here is the bad guy. That thing he's holding is a slab of concrete. Piece of fucking concrete. Yeah, it's just a big slab of concrete. Now, at some point, the bad guy has an encounter with a guy named Slayer. I'll post a picture of Slayer. This is Slayer. He's a vampire and also probably top 3 strongest Guilty Gear characters. Maybe top 5, but probably top 3. It is revealed in Guilty Gear Xrd that while the bad guy was just calling himself the bad guy, he had an encounter with Slayer, who was like, yeah, the bad guy is kind of a cool name, but like, I forget exactly what he says, but it was something along the lines of like, man, you have like, I genuinely don't remember what he says, but it was something like, oh, your spirit shines like the sun. From now on, I think I'll call you Saul. And he low-key kind of liked the name, so he just was like, yeah, sure, Saul Bad Guy. Kind of like it. So from then on, he was called Saul Bad Guy. Let me think, then what happened? Okay, so there was this guy named Cliff Underson. Cliff Underson was the leader of the Holy Knights for years. And on many occasions fought Justice to a stalemate, which is incredible. Because Justice was the same thing that one-shotted a continent. And Cliff was one of the only motherfuckers that the bad guy respected. And Cliff was like, you know what? Why don't you quit this mercenary going around killing gears just for the fuck of it stuff? Come join the Order. Come join the Order of the Holy Knights. And the bad guy was like, yeah, sure, alright, whatever. However, after a while, the bad guy gets tired of the bureaucracy and the structure, I guess, of the Holy Order, and decides to say, YOLO, fuck the police, and take something from the Order. He takes the sword, the Fuenken, also known as the Fire Seal. This enrages a young Kai Kisuke. I will post a picture of Kai Kisuke. This is Kai Kisuke. So from then on, Kai Kisuke had a little bit of a grudge against the bad guy. Kisuke. I think it's Kisk. But whatever, I'm so used to saying Kisuke. Yeah, Kai Kisk. Might want to go for an older pick. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. This one's actually a little bit recent. But whatever. So yeah, bad guy's on the run. Still killing gears. Then what happens? Then in 2173, the Battle of Rome happens. And the Battle of Rome was the ultimate defeat of justice. Or no, maybe I've got this backwards. The Battle of Rome might be something horribly fucked that actually happened in a bad timeline. When the fuck did they beat justice, actually? Okay, whatever. So actually, in 2175, the Holy Knights, now led by Kai Kisuke, because at that point Cliff had retired, sealed justice away in an alternate dimension, and after 100 years, the Gear Wars, the Crusades, were over. At long last. Bad timeline. Yes, there is a bad timeline. So, any questions so far? What about Zep? That man made the strongest weapon ever. No, that man didn't make the outrage. Frederick did. What's with the guy who one-shot a continent? Justice just got sealed away in an alternate dimension. Because they could not kill her. Why is this stream so early in the morning? It's 2 p.m. Zep wanted to do science when the world said no. Yeah, sure, I'll talk about Zep. Zep is cool. I wonder if there's a picture of Zep. There should be. This picture really doesn't illustrate what Zep is all about. How did Saul lose the fire seal initially to the Holy Order? Did he just not want it? It's not entirely clear. We know he split it up. I don't know why he never kept any of the pieces. He must have just lost them, honestly. Like, 100 years is a long time. So I'm not sure. But yeah, here's a picture of Zepp I'm going to put up. Gave the seal to the Holy Order. Okay, so that's what he did. He gave them to the Holy Order. Because he was like, yeah, fuck it, y'all can have them. Are there multiple timelines? Yes. Hello, picture of Zepp. Toot toot, where are you? Here we go. Okay. So Zepp is a gigantic flying airship. Is that man still alive? We'll get to that. Isn't Potemkin from Zepp? I'm not sure if he's from Zepp. I know he lives there and he works for the guy who's in charge. Okay, so Zepp is cool. Zepp is a gigantic floating airship that basically said, fuck it, YOLO, to, like, the current political system, because the world of Guilty Gear becomes very politically interesting after the Crusades. The United States was basically completely annihilated because the Gears, like, came from there. So that was the first country that got ravaged. And now what's left of the United States is just referred to as a country. Like, capital A country. So Zepp is interesting. The whole rest of the world has kind of agreed to just use magic and ban black tech. Zepp, being an independent nation, has said, fuck it, YOLO. This is so stupid. Who cares if this alien tries to manifest itself through our tech? And so they just kept all the black tech and they still regularly use it. And the guy who is the president of their country is one of the strongest characters. Let me post a picture of him. It's like Rapture. It's basically like Rapture. Also, slavery is okay up there. Potemkin is a slave. Because he was black. So this is him. He is one of the strongest fuckers. He solos Bedman in a fight at one point. Let's see, what did the Easily Bored Gamer just tell me? Forgot to mention why Frederick was about to be important again. Right. I'll get to that. Waluigi? He's kind of like Waluigi. Is the slavery thing legit? Yes, slavery is fine in Zepp. Didn't Potemkin get unslaved by some cool revolutionary? Yeah, it was Gabriel. Like, Zeb was pretty bad before that guy took control. Now things are a lot better. So let me talk a little bit about Guilty Gear's political climate. The United States is fucking gone. What it is now just called a country, and it's basically the Wild West. It is a lawless wasteland, pretty much. The United States does have a president, but they are basically a nobody at political tables, right? I think China is still around. China's around. Most of Europe is still fine. But now, the big dominant factor in the universe is the United Kingdom of Illyria. Which is essentially the entirety of Europe. In fact, it is so big that one king cannot rule it. The United Kingdom of Illyria has 3 kings. Kai Kiske, after the Crusades, became one of the kings. Let me grab the other king. The whole world is fucked. The world is getting better, bit by bit. But horrible, awful things keep happening. So it's hard to recover. This is the other king. This is Leo. May is about 200 years old. May is not 200 years old. Where's this last fucker? Does this guy not have a page on the wiki? Am I about to be the first person to Google Guilty Gear Daryl? It's showing me some fucker from Guilty Crown. I don't care about Guilty Crown Daryl. No, we know who the third king is. He plays a major role in Revelator 2. Fuck me, I guess... This is literally the best picture of him I can find, and that's really sad. Kai didn't become king until Guilty Gear 2 Overture. Yeah, you're right, actually. That's fine. Nothing of great significance happens with Kai for, like, until, X. So this is the outline of the third king, Daryl. And Daryl is a fucking cocksucker. That's Daryl. He's the third king. He was head of Interpol in the first few games. Yeah, so he was like the chief of all the cops, basically. What's the backyard? You're not ready to handle the backyard. Any questions before we continue on? Ramethal? We'll get into Ramethal. She shows up in Exard. Why are you so stupid? I am not stupid! I am smart! Which girls have the biggest titties canonically? I can show a picture of her because we're about to talk about her. But it's Biken. And she has some big fucking bazongs. What happens with the alien? The alien will matter in Revelator. Here's Biken. As you can see, big titties. Let me see if I can find a picture of her doing her instant kill. Where you can see the bazongs in, like, their full power. Yeah, this is close enough. Where are you, titties? Here they are. So here they are in their full glory. They are large and succulent. And she's also extremely powerful. And she's Japanese. So she can use ki. So her story is that you remember the Japanese like colony I mentioned before? So the Gears attacked that colony, completely raided it, fucked it, killed a lot more of the Japanese that were there. Had her arm ripped out and her eye destroyed. And amidst the carnage, she could see that man who was leading the Gears. Japanese has big bazongs. It's a, yeah, exactly. Completely unrealistic. Big titties. But, so from that day on, she swore revenge on him and spent her whole life training. And Baiken is probably roughly, like, 100 years old. Right, so, class. How is she 100 years old? Because of the key. Baiken likes Soul? No, Baiken hates Soul. Why is the soundtrack so good? I don't know, dude. The soundtracks to the Guilty Gear games are fucking rocking. Does anyone like Soul? A couple people like Soul, but Soul Bad Guy is such an asshole. Why does she hate Soul? Because they both want to kill that man. So now we're going to get into Guilty Gear 1. Yes, that entire 48 minutes I spent was talking about not even the start of the first game. Why does Saul want that man dead? That's a great question. Okay, so Guilty Gear 1 begins. Throughout the world, there are weird rumors of justice being revived. Thus, for some reason, to kind of quell the rumors and distract people, the Order of Knights, whatever, hosts a tournament. What they don't realize is that the rumor is in fact completely correct. And a gear named Testament. Let me pull up a picture of Testament. He's fucking gay looking. This is Testament. This guy is a gear. And as we learn, he is actually, in fact, Cliff's son. Dot, dot, dot. So, Testament goes through with a crazy plan to try to bring back justice from whatever alternate dimension she was trapped in. And he's basically behind the whole tournament. And he brings her back somehow. I don't quite remember how he does this. But, yeah, so everybody enters the tournament. Saul Bad Guy ends up being the winner. He enters because he wants to kill Gears and shit. Why does he want to bring back justice? Because he's a Gear. And apparently, in order to revive justice, you need a sacrifice. So him and Saul Bad Guy fight, and Testament is like, I'll be the sacrifice. So he kills himself and revives Justice, right? So Saul Bad Guy fights the newly revived Justice. And wins, somehow? Well, here's the thing about Saul Bad Guy. Saul is actually a top 3 or 5 strongest Guilty Gear characters. And in in Justice's dying moments. Now, you remember there were 3 people that worked on the Gear project. What does Justice look like? Yeah, that would be fucking cool, wouldn't it? If I posted a picture of Justice. Now, I must warn you, Justice has what appears to be a penis. This is a tiny picture. So here's Justice. So, you remember at the very beginning, I said the Gear project was headed by 3 people. The person who is now simply known as That Man, Frederick, who got turned into a gear and escaped, and Arya. We didn't talk very much about Arya. But Arya and Saul Bad Guy, Frederick, because that's who that is, in case that wasn't obvious already, were in WoW. Uwu. And it's implied that That Man also kind of liked Justice. So, Frederick gets turned into a gear, escapes the facility, and creates a headband that suppresses his gear power. And you'll see it right here on his head. The red thing is the gear suppressing headband. Let me show you, if I can find it, a picture of what Saul really looks like now that he's been turned into a gear. That is his humanoid form that he's like... He's using the headband to suppress himself and look human. Alright, fuck me. Not on the wiki, apparently. That's what Dragon Install is, yes. When he does Dragon Install, he's tapping into some of his gear power. So this is what Saul actually looks like when the headband is taken off. And the fuck thing is, that's not even his true form. That's not even his real gear form. That's a suppressed version of it. So right. Saul Bad Guy escapes the facility, creates the headband, wanders the world, becomes a mercenary, kills Gears. Arya kind of stuck around with the project and That Man. So in Guilty Gear, Saul Bad Guy is about to kill Justice. In her last moments, she kind of regains some of her consciousness. And it is revealed that Justice was Saul Bad Guy's girlfriend, Arya. That man turned into a gear. And from then on, he swears mega revenge on That Man. Even worse than he already had before. These Cheetos are delicious. What, because he don't get pussy? Uh, Basically, yeah. So that man used Saul's wife to turn into a gear, but why her? There is a reason. Okay, so any questions before we move on to Guilty Gear X? What's up with Key Girl? You mean ABBA? I don't know. I don't know a lot about ABBA. ABBA's kind of just there. Why is that man doing all this? There is a reason. But for now, let's just say that man wanted to rule the world, but his plan kind of got, crooked. How do gear aging works? It doesn't. Gears do not age. That's why Soul Bad Guy still looks like he's 20. What did Kai do in the first game? Not a whole lot. The thing that's complicated about the first Guilty Gear is that it's typical fighting game arcade story mode thing, so it's like Soul Bad Guy's story is canon, but it's like how canon is everybody else's, you know. Saul is a gear who hates gears. Yes. Saul's mission is to wipe out every gear. And can rebel to justice. The reason why Saul Bad Guy is one of the only gears that does not have to listen to justice is because he was a prototype. And he was created before all the other gears. So the shit doesn't work on him. How is he so strong if he's an earlier version? Okay, so do we ever see Saul's true form? Not that I'm aware of. But Saul is, first of all, Saul Bad Guy is a genius. He is one of the most intelligent Guilty Gear characters because he was like the second guy in charge of the Gear Project. And he invented the Outrage, which is the most powerful weapon to ever exist. And he's a master of fire magic. And he's been training for like 100 years. And also, that man went a little bit crazy with the gear prototype. Because I guess he wanted to make a good first impression. Next. Okay. Then we'll move on to Guilty Gear X. Not a whole lot happens in the first Guilty Gear, except that, really. So, in 2181, more rumors, because all these stories apparently start with rumors. Rumors are floating around that there's a gear hanging out somewhere. And countries around the world basically put a bounty on its head. So everybody enters. It was kind of a tournament, but it was more like a go find this gear and kill it. Everybody fights one another to try to get this gear. And again, Saul Bad Guy ends up being the one who finds the gear. And the gear is Dizzy. Let me post a picture of Dizzy. Here's Dizzy. Can you fuck Dizzy without getting arrested? That's MILF Dizzy. Yeah, that was just the first picture I found, but whatever. At this point, gears are almost non-existent. Most gears have deactivated. Because when Justice died or was sealed away, all the gears kind of just shut off. Like, all throughout the world, you'll just find gear corpses people haven't gotten around to clearing away. What the fuck happens? Okay, so Saul Bad Guy gets to Dizzy. I think Kai was also there at some point. Yeah, so Saul meets her and decides to spare her. And then we get the quote, right? Let me pull up the quote. The name drop. What about the angel and the demon? They're just there. That's just a part of her body. So, Saul Bad Guy has sworn to wipe out every single gear. But he can't bring himself to kill Dizzy, right? Thinks she's too sweet, too innocent, can't do it. And she starts crying. And then Saul Bad Guy says this. Don't cry. That makes me feel guilty. Leave before I change my mind. In case you haven't figured it out, Saul Bad Guy is the guilty gear. And so Saul is like, yeah, okay, but you can't just stay here. The whole time she was staying in this grove, and so a lot of the time she's referred to as the Maiden in the Grove, or the Maiden of the Grove, rather. So, Saul Bad Guy, I'm not sure if it's Saul exactly who's like, go do this, but Dizzy ends up joining the Jellyfish Pirates. Let me post a picture of the Jellyfish Pirates. That's a big picture. But here they are. It is an all-female, except for their leader, group of pirates who go around in an airship. Wasn't Testament looking out for Dizzy? Yeah, he was, but I don't remember much of what he was doing. I don't even know how he was alive. The group looks like a harem. It is. This is the harem master. His name is Johnny. He has the single biggest belt ever. He has 2 belts to contain his penis. Talk about Johnny. What do you want to know about him? So, is he like Rance? He's like Rance, except he's much more of a gentleman. Not into the whole rape thing. But not May. No, he does not fuck May. Does Johnny use a bamboo shoot? There's a sword under there. How much lore are we missing? There's a lot of lore. Tell you what, I'll tell you something about one of my favorite characters, Chip Zanuff. Chip has probably my favorite backstory. Let me get rid of some of these pictures. Get a little cluttered. Yeah, we'll keep these two because they're important. Okay, so here's Chip. Chip is an American ninja. Or wait, I should start from the beginning. He is a former drug dealer turned drug addict turned ninja turned president of a kingdom. No, he is not Japanese, he is American. And also, he's hilarious. Every time he does a special, he shouts out a completely random Japanese word. Like, he'll scream, "Sushi! Sukiyaki! Banzai!" He's the king of the USA. No, he's not the king of the USA. He has his own country called the Eastern Kingdom of Chip. But he's the president of that kingdom. They hold elections in the Eastern Kingdom of Chip. Does he have key? Yes, he is a key user. He is one of the few people in the world that is not Japanese that can use key. Crackhead ninja president. Well, he's not on crack anymore. He was on crack, but his ninja master taught him the ways of ninjutsu, and now he doesn't do crack anymore. Ex-drug lord president ninja. Yes, president of a kingdom. Does the chibi game have any lore in them? Not that I'm aware of. His hair dyed or natural? That's just his hair. I don't think Chip can use magic, just key. Well, key is magic. Oh, fuck. I should talk about Axel. Axel is interesting. So here's a picture of Axel Lowe. Extremely obviously based on Axl from Guns N' Roses. Like, literally, they look like the same guy and they have the same name. Is Axl a Brit? How did you tell? But yes. Okay, so, let me read you his description. Tell me where this turns into Guilty Gear. Axl originally lived in the 20th century. During this period, he fell in love with a girl named Megami. Grew up in the slums and eventually found himself in the middle of a gang war. Thanks to his strength, he was able to put an end to the conflict in 6 months, with no casualties. It was sometime after this victory when Axl was forced to go through his first time slip into the 22nd century. Axl just spends all his time in Guilty Gear trying to find a way to get back to his own time. He time traveled how? Nobody knows. He spends the entirety of the series just trying to figure out what the fuck happened. And to this day, I think we still are not sure. Is he cool? Yeah, he's a cool guy. It's Raven? Oh, right. Raven does it. They're the same person? I don't know if they're the same person. But it's a possibility. Yeah, I'll post a picture of Raven. But he's not going to matter for a second. What about Bedman? We're getting there. Bit by bit. So this is Raven. Does that man have an organization under him? Yes. The belts are multiplying. Guilty Gear has a lot of belts. Let me see. Are there any other interesting characters I could talk about? So he poisons. Yeah, he throws poison darts. And also he gets sexually aroused by getting hurt. Are there any MILFs in Guilty Gear? Not really. Biken's not a MILF. I mean, she's 100 years old, just about, but... Doesn't look like one. Explain Bridget. Okay. Has Bridget even shown up, like, in these games yet at this point? I think he has. Bridget doesn't actually show up until X2. When do we get to Bedman? In Exard. Right now we're on X. Alright, so. Dizzy goes to live with the jellyfish pirates. Shit. Right, so we find out that Dizzy is in fact half gear, right? And her mom is Justice. Therefore, Dizzy is in fact a command type gear. This will be very important later. So then a little something happens. Guilty Gear XX. Which, by the way, has one of the ugliest box arts ever. Let me post a picture of it. It's really ugly. And also, that's a very small picture. Isn't that a horrifying image? Like, what the fuck were they thinking? That Eno, that is Eno. So we'll talk about Eno. So the plot of Guilty Gear XX is essentially Eno. Let me get a picture of her that's not disgusting. Because Eno's actually hot. This is Eno. And Eno, like Axel, has time travel powers. Except she actually apparently has control over them. So, excuse me. Here's the thing about Guilty Gear, is that, how do I put this? The Guilty Gear only, like, events in the past affect the future. There is only a single timeline, so to speak, but you can go back and change it, right? It's kind of like Steins Gate has kind of a similar timeline to where if you go back into the past and you fuck with things, then things in the future will be fucked with. But you can also go back and unfuck those things and things will go back to normal. Eno goes back in time. And uses her everything in her power to try and help that man. The first thing she does is, you will remember the Battle of Rome. What Ino did was, she went back in time and made it so that Kai would end up getting killed by gears. So that was bad. Why does that man even need help? Well, here's the thing, is that Ino is doing this of her own volition because she thinks this is what that man wants. And then there's just this crazy fucking bullshit about, like, Ino goes back in time and kills Johnny of the Jellyfish Pirates. Then May becomes the one who's in charge. Justice gets killed at some point. I think Saul does it in this timeline. And then Dizzy takes control of the gears, and the Crusades keep going for another 10 years. Saul and all the Holy Knights go to try and fight Dizzy, but Dizzy wipes him out. Because Dizzy is extremely powerful. She's probably stronger than Justice, even. She's that man's only fangirl. Yeah, basically. But so Ino realizes, oh wait, that man doesn't actually want this. Goes back in time, undoes all that shit, saves the life of Kai Kisuke, and then the normal timeline resumes. Then she officially joins up with that man and is like, yeah, sorry, didn't mean to do all that. Now, here's one of the most badass things that happens in all of Guilty Gear. Okay. So, like I've established, Guilty Gear has a fixed timeline to where events in the past directly affect the future. It's a single timeline. But you can go back and unfuck the thing that you caused. So at one point, I forget exactly what happens here, but Ino either brings in Order Soul from the past. This is Order Soul, by the way, the one that's moving. And brings him to regular Soul. The two fight each other, because of course it's a fighting game. And then Ino murders Order Soul. Now, logically, you would assume Order Soul dying means real Soul would also die. And according to the rules set in by this universe, that's what happened. That's what should happen, at least. However, Soul Bad Guy is so badass. This is the present Soul. Sees Order Soul get killed. Ino is like, wait, why are you alive? Soul just kind of shrugs. Is like, I mean, well, that's not really me, right? I don't feel like dying, so I guess I just won't. And she's completely fucking shook by this. This makes no sense in universe or out of universe. But he just doesn't care. He's just like, whatever, dude. I'll let that information sink in while I go get a drink. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all do me a big favor. I've got some Pop-Tarts in the toaster. In like a minute and a half, remind me. Where was I? Is he aware of the fourth wall or some nonsense? No, he has no idea. None of them really know they're in a video game. Alright, so... oh boy. Alright. Things are about to get fucking retarded. Now. So, as you may remember, Dizzy met Kai, right? And as it turns out, Kai Kiske, was kinda into Dizzy, you know? Thought she was pretty cute. So they started talking, you know, ooh. Tarts for there. Yeah, I'll go get them in a second. And they started living together. And ended up getting pregnant. Right, Pop-Tarts. I'll go get them, so you can stop saying Pop-Tarts. Okay. So, they start living together. Turns out, Dizzy is pregnant. Right, I should say some more things about Kai, because, I don't know how to say this name. Taji brings up an excellent point. So here's the thing about Kai. I really haven't talked about him a lot, but Kai is actually an interesting character, because Kai spent most of his life, for a good reason, hating Gears. Because they're monsters and they've, like, ravaged the world. And all he was concerned with was, my side is good, my enemies are evil. Okay? But after he met Dizzy, things started to change. So here's his quote, like at the top of his page on the wiki. Why must I make friends with the hated and make enemies of the respected? It's times like these when I miss the days of the war. The days before I discovered the little space between good and evil. Law guy. He's basically a law fag. And Saul Bad Guy is kind of like a chaos dude. So they have a nice contrast going on. So, obviously, him living with a gear and falling in love with one create a little bit of internal conflict, as they say. And eventually, right, turns out Dizzy is pregante. She's preggo. She's got a little bab developing. Is he still a law fag or is he more neutral now? He's, most recently, he's still a little bit uptight. Like, he believes in order and, like, the rule of law and the due process. But he's a lot less moral about it, right? How's that Pop-Tart? It's good. It's good Pop-Tart. So, little baby growing in her stomach grows abnormally fast. Baby comes out. Oh shit. It's a quarter gear. Or half gear, rather. No, yeah, a quarter gear. Because Dizzy is half gear. Justice, who was her mom, is a full gear. So Lil Babby pops out. Couple years later, he's this fucking big. This is Sin Kiska. Isn't it spelled sin? No, it's S-I-N. Sin. As in, like, you've committed a sin. Yes, his name is Sin. He is the least edgy character in this entire series. Are gears like Saiyans where half gears are stronger? Every half gear and lower we've seen is a monster. But that might just be because of the justice cells in them. Who is Dizzy's dad? We'll find that out. So, Kai realizes he's made a little fucko boingo. Got a little Gia pregnant, right? Guy who's going to become king can't have a quarter gear child running around who's mysteriously, like, 4 months old and has the body of a fucking 6-year-old, right? So, he decides to send him off to live with his best frenemy, Saul Bad Guy. Right? So Saul basically raises Sin and does a horrible job, right? Saul is the worst parent you can possibly imagine. Explain the flag. The flag, there's a reason for the flag. So, at one point, because Saul's been teaching Sin, like, martial arts and stuff, how to fight. How to kind of control his power. At one point, Sin asks him, like, what would be a cool weapon to use? And so, as a joke, Saul says, wave a flag around. So he goes, finds a flag, and uses that as his weapon. This is a Mighty Hecka Pop-Tart. Right, now it is time for the Baptisma 13 event. Why the fuck would you send your own child to your frenemy even if you got a kingdom to run with your wife? Here's the deal. Dizzy was always a secret romance. Nobody really knew, except for extremely powerful people that will matter later, knew about Kai's relationship with Dizzy. Are Milia or Zato relevant yet? Zato will matter soon. What game are we on? We're about to get to Guilty Gear 2 Overture. Now, I'm already excited. The Baptisma 13 event. There is no reason why this is called the Baptisma 13 event. There is no reason. It's just called that. So, Saul Bad Guy is wandering around with Sin when a thing called Valentine just appears. Let me post a picture of Valentine. Hope to God my OBS didn't just crash. Okay, here we go. Ramlethal? No, different Valentine. Same family, different chick. So this is Valentine. There is so much shit I need to explain that happens in Guilty Gear 2. Oh, lordy be. Okay, fuck, dog, where do I even start? Oh, fuck. Right, okay, first, it would probably make more sense to explain the backyard. So, the backyard is an alternate dimension in Guilty Gear where magic comes from. Basically, you can imagine it like this. If Guilty Gear is a computer program, then the backyard is the code that it's comprised of. Never explained the backyard yet? No, we are explaining the backyard right now. The backyard is extremely dense with information. To the point where, if a normal person starts walking around in the backyard, they will be almost instantaneously crushed and destroyed. In order to not get fucking wiped out, you need to be tuned to the frequency of the backyard, which is not an easy task. Only super geniuses can do it. The backyard is a physical place where all the universe's information is in. Yes. It's the boundary from BlazBlue. They're very similar concepts. Saul survived the backyard. Yeah, he kind of just brute forced his way in there. You can do that, but you'll probably die. That alternate dimension Justice was put in was the backyard. It could have been. It's a possibility. But so there is a thing called backyard magic. Backyard magic is more powerful than Ki. Nobody except a couple of individuals, including one sleepy boy, knows how to use backyard magic. And one of the fellas that happens to know how to use backyard magic, and in fact has been living in the backyard this entire time, is a little fella you might know, whose picture I'm pulling up. You have possibly heard of him. His name is That Man. So, That Man has been hiding in the backyard. And within something called the Cube. The Cube is a structure that allows That Man to manipulate the information in the backyard. This makes him probably the third, he's absolutely top 5, probably top 3 strongest Guilty Gear characters. Valentine, yes, That Man has been hiding the whole time. He's totally been alive. He's just been in the backyard. Valentine wants access to the cube, for reasons that will be explained later. Excuse me while I chew on my Pop-Tart. So, Valentine is after the cube. But here's the thing, is that the cube is locked. Right. Guess how you get in? You need the cells of justice to get in. So Valentine's original plan was to go through some roundabout bullshit to get, like, justice cells. But then figured out, wait a minute. Dizzy is half justice. So she tries to get Dizzy. But Kai seals her away so that she can't get, like, stolen, right? Let's see if there's a picture of this. I don't think there is. But, so, Dizzy, that's a no-go. She's sealed away. That's not gonna work. But you know who does have justice cells? Fucking Sin Kiska, who is a quarter justice. Also, along the way, this guy shows up. This guy's really cool. Was the alien from the backyard? You may be correct. Where's this picture? Here it is. Okay, so this guy's cool. This is Dr. Paradigm. He is a gear. Does Sin still look 6? This is what Sin looks like right now. In Exard. He is a bird dragon scientist who runs a colony for gears that want to live in peace away from humans. And he's a genius. And he helped Saul Bad Guy and Sin and all them beat Justice. Or not Justice, fucking Valentine. Let me think, what happened after that? So, eventually, they deal with Valentine. I forget what the fuck happens to this stupid idiot. Valentine. Dumb bitch. So she gets beaten, kind of loses her mind. And Saul Bad Guy beats her up. And at some point, he fights that man, but loses. And then in the epilogue, we learn from that man that millions of Valentines are born every single day. And that was in Guilty Gear Overture. Any questions? How are they born? That is a wonderful question. Why is Valentine important besides the fact that she wants the cube? The Valentine was created by and is working for something. Okay. Excuse the random okay you just heard. Where's Bridget? Bridget really doesn't do a whole lot. I'll post a picture of Bridget, though. Bridget is a trap bounty hunter who fights with a yo-yo and a teddy bear. Here's Bridget. That's a dude. That is a man. That's a man, baby. Yeah, the reason why Bridget is a trap is because the village they were born in, uh, apparently their custom was that, like, twins that are born of the same gender are bad luck, and one of them needs to be a woman. So Bridget was raised as a girl. Alright, any other questions? A good burp. Duh, duh, duh. Explain the Valentine situation. Did you explain why Kai hates Saul yet? The whole deal with the fire seal. I think I talked about it a little bit. But yeah, Kai really didn't like Saul because he took the fire seal. But the funny thing is that Saul invented that thing, so it's kind of his. Will this stream be uploaded like the others? Yes. Where should one start on this madness? To play like a video game or to experience this weird bullshit lore? Still don't know how Valentines are born. Okay, so. Maybe I should just play the opening to Guilty Gear Xrd. Because that's... Oh, fuck. Okay.
A world.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Let's see if this will work. That's copyright? Well, it'll be fine. Who cares? It'll be fine. It'll be great. Hopefully this is right.
A world separate from our own, yet somehow controlling it. The backyard. Hidden behind its gates are the eternal truths of good and of evil, of creation and of destruction, of chaos, the likes of which mankind has never seen. In a time long past, a philosopher entered this other realm. He returned, and through shuddering breaths, he spoke. No evil should touch this place. This philosopher sealed all that the backyard was into a single tome. His hope was that mankind would never stumble upon its power. With that, the path to the backyard was forever barred, and peace once again blessed our world. But what followed, the ancient sage could never have predicted, for evil came not from a human who discovered the book, but from inside the backyard itself.
My name is Ramlethal Valentine. I declare war on all the world. All those unworthy to stand upon it will be destroyed. The future is the past.
Alright, so that's basically what happens. We can get rid of that. Goodbye. So, another Valentine pops up. That is Ramlethal Valentine. So now we've got a problem. One Valentine popped up, now there's another. And I don't think I stressed how extremely powerful and dangerous Valentines are. The backyard is inside a book? Kinda, yeah. But, yeah, so, okay. Ramethal Valentine shows up. This is right after the Baptisma 13 event. This is about a year after, I say, a year or two. And it is revealed, I'm not sure if this was talked about in Overture or not, but we learn that the Valentines are being created by something called Mother. Guilty Gear Xrd story is a fucking... It's not that big of a clusterfuck, I'm just trying to remember the order of events. But... we also learn there is another Valentine running around. Pic of Mother. I will post a pic of Mother in a bit. Mother is very important. So here's Elfeld. She has big titties. Yeah, there's a lot of shit I need to talk about. So basically, there is an alliance going on between the Valentines and these guys called the Senato. These guys are also called the Conclave. And these guys are like the shadow government that runs the world. And these guys want, what else? To revive justice. For reasons. So, the Valentines and the Senato, the Conclave, are after the same thing. They both want to get into the backyard and get into the cube for reasons that have yet to be explained to us. Like, as of this point in the story, at least. We know why now, but... So, there's like a couple people I need to discuss that I should have. So, let's take a step back and talk about Dr. Baldhead. Dr. Baldhead Dr. Baldhead, where are you? This is Dr. Baldhead. He was a character in Guilty Gear 1. who was an insane, crazy serial killer, who went nuts because he had this one patient he couldn't save. And she ended up dying and he lost it. At the end of Guilty Gear 1, he finds some peace with himself. And rumors of a mystical healer with incredible powers to supposedly revive the dead start popping up. And then the next game, no more Dr. Baldhead, right? Instead, there's this guy, Faust. Faust can bring people back to life. Now, here's another guy that matters. Can't bring back the girl that died. His ability to bring people back to life is like really weird and not super well explained. But the Conclave use him as a test subject to bring back this guy. This is Zato 1. Zato was a playable character back in Guilty Gear X, I think. I'm pretty sure you couldn't play as him in the first Guilty Gear. Maybe you could, actually. Yeah, you could, my bad. But, so in Guilty Gear 1, Faust and Baldi are different people? No, they're the same guy. But this guy is Zato, and that shadow thing is called Eddie. Eddie is a forbidden beast. Forbidden beasts are weird, crazy parasites that were created to be an anti-gear weapon and they are forbidden because they are horrible. And they are basically people turned into monsters by magic. They're vaguely kind of sort of like gears. Biological gears? Well, gears are biological things. Eddie is Zato's stand. That's basically what he is. But here's the thing, is that forbidden beasts are independent things. Like, a forbidden beast will work for you, but is in no way, like, under a binding contract. And what happens is that I'll post a picture of Milia. Zato fights and loses in Guilty Gear 1 against Milia and is left for dead, and Eddie takes over his body. So from about Guilty Gear X to Exard, or like X to XX, Eddie, the Forbidden Beast, is in control of Zato's body, right? But the Conclave gets Faust to test his not reincarnation, his bring people back to life power on Zato for the fuck of it, to see if it works. It does. They're like, yay. why are they doing this? They want justice alive. So they can get into the cube and to rule humanity, basically. Because they want to be able to control all the gears again. Reanimation, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, now it is time. After 2 hours to talk about da 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 Batman. Okay, let's talk about Bedman. So, does anybody have any questions that do not relate to Bedman that I can answer before we get into the sleepy boy himself? Only Bedman. Is that important? No. What happens to Eddie after Zavok? I assume you mean Zato. He just works for him again. So, can you remake Justice? No. Doesn't work that way. So, Bedman is working for, how do I describe this individual? Let's just say that Bedman's boss is trying to create an absolute world. And Bedman is after the same goal. And Bedman's absolute world is essentially a world with no suffering, no strife, no hardship. And Bedman believes that Okay, so here's the deal. Basically, Bedman is like a third party. Bedman is basically the Ocelot of Guilty Gear, right? Oh, shit. Fuck, I missed it. Wait, let me see. Apologies. Let's see. Roy Payne with the $5 says, "Hail to the Sleepy King, baby." Thank you, my mans. I am sleepy. And so is Bedman. But Bedman is like the Ocelot of Guilty Gear. Because he betrays everyone? Not really, but Bedman is kind of playing it from every angle, right? So here's the setup. I have way too many pictures up right now. Get out of the way. Most of you guys don't matter. But, okay, so Ramwithal and the Conclave are working together. Bedman, I just lost his picture, but Bedman is working on the side to help Ramwithal succeed but to, in the end, fuck over the Conclave. Because they need Justice's body to be present, Bedman and his boss, but they don't want the Conclave to be around anymore. Because they're puppets, and they're not useful. What they want is not what the Bedman wants, right? Elfelt matters in all this, but we'll get to her in a second. So Bedman spends a lot of the game just, like, fucking with people. Like, he gets rid of unwanted variables. Like, the Milia, this guy named Venom. I haven't shown Venom yet, but Venom's cool. Why do they want to bring justice back if sin is a thing? They don't, they need justice. I think it's, like, here's the deal, is that Dizzy is sealed away. Dizzy is a no-no. Fucking Sin, most of them I probably don't even know Sin exists. So that's, like, a dead end. Here's Venom. So Venom, Milia, and Slayer are the Assassin's Guild. And the Assassin's Guild is actually pretty cool. They kinda, sorta work hand in hand with, like, the actual real government, but not really. But the Assassin's Guild was gonna go tell, oh shit, how did this go? So the Conclave asks the Assassin's Guild to work for them. And the Assassin's Guild is like, no, let's actually, these guys are evil. Let's tell, like, the real actual government, like Kai Kisuke and them. Because Kai is working against the Conclave. And then guess who shows up? Bedman. Because Bedman wants the Conclave's plan to succeed for as long as possible and then fuck them in the end, right? And let me tell you some things about Bedman. So Bedman has backyard powers. Bedman can kill people with their own nightmares. He can teleport. Bedman's just a fucking crazy person. Is Bedman's instant kill a canon ability? Yes, he can just do that. However, it doesn't work on certain people. And by certain people, I mean basically just, like that man. And it wouldn't work on somebody like Slayer, probably. Show us Bedman's instant kill. Just fucking look it up. Just search Bedman instant kill. But, so what happens is, the Conclave ultimately succeeds. They resurrect Justice. But their plan gets shut down, which is exactly what Bedman and the crew want. Eventually, Ramlethal gets taken out of the picture and kind of sort of joins the good guys. Conclave is dealt with. Everybody's like, yay, we won. This was the scheme all along, right? So Elfelt was kind of like a retard. Elfelt was considered defective because Valentines are not supposed to have emotions. And like, she was basically abandoned by Mother. But once justice is like brought back into the world, Ramlethal is kind of incapacitated and the Conclave is dealt with. Okay, this is what happens. This is important. So, that man shows up on the final battle against the Conclave. I hope they have a picture of this thing. They do! Okay, sick. So the Conclave would hide in this thing called the Cradle. This is the Cradle. And they would stay in there and just wait for Justice to show up and then teleport it back into the backyard. Because that thing, that man or Bedman, who is stronger, that man but Bedman can fight him because he also has backyard powers. So this thing has something called the Absolute Defense Fellion, which is the strongest defensive spell in Guilty Gear. It is nigh impregnable. Nothing can get through an Absolute Defense Fellion, except for one, another guy who can also use an Absolute Defense Fellion. That would work. Two, enough force to destroy the universe. Which is literally what they have to do to break it. So that man shows up on the battlefield to help them because the Conclave and the Valentines are after his ass. And he does this shit where he, Saul unleashes one of his most powerful punches ever. And that man does all this shit where he's like, I'm going to take... Is that where the outrage comes into play again? No, actually. But he's like, I'm going to take this one punch, amplify it to the absolute limits of, what is possible, centralize it onto one, atom, or some crazy shit. Reconstruct the Schwarzwelt radius and one last little touch. Gotta make sure it stays stabilized so it doesn't destroy the universe. And that should be enough to get through the Absolute Defense Fellion. And then the Absolute Defense Fellion just kind of stops working. And then, guess what happens? Bedman fucking jumps behind him and grabs him and pulls him into the Nightmare Theater. Which is where Bedman takes people to kill them with their nightmares. And that was basically the plan all along. So now Bedman and his boss are in a great position, right? That man is out of the picture and being restrained by Bedman in the Nightmare Theater. The Cradle is fucking dead. The Conclave is gone. Justice is there. And so, like I said, Elfelt was, retarded and had emotions. So everybody was like, oh, she's defective. But it was all a ruse. So, Elfelt's real programming basically starts. And she, what the fuck does she do? Fuck. I forget exactly what happens at the very end, but... So she takes, Justice and goes back into the backyard. Because Valentines can do that. They're from the backyard, they can go into the backyard. So then we get to the epilogue. As it turns out, the mother of the Valentines and the boss of Bedman were the same person. Bedman's boss and the Valentine's mom is the alien that tried to manifest itself during the Dawn of Revival in 1999. Is a Nightmare in the Theater a different dimension, or is it just a theater? It's a dimension that looks like a theater. Now, I say alien. Alien is a weird way to describe this thing. Let me post a picture of the thing. The wiki has the worst picture of it ever. Of her ever. It's a woman. It's technically not an alien. I just say alien because that's what they thought it was. So, I'll just explain what this thing is. So, in Guilty Gear Exard Revelator, that man explained some things to Saul Bad Guy. Okay. Now, you remember the guy at the beginning of the Exard opening? The guy who discovered the backyard and said, "Let no evil touch this place," and turned everything the backyard was into a single tome. That guy is known as the Sage. The Sage was one of the original apostles. And the Sage was the guy who taught that man everything he knows about backyard magic. So, this is what the alien, quote-unquote, really was. The Universal Will, aka Mother, was they describe it as a robot, but it's more correct, I guess, to call it like a weird AI, like an intelligence without a form, that was created within the backyard by the Sage. And the Sage's goal with the Universal Will was that it would be a, how do I put this? Like a guide to help lead humanity into the future. So, that man, or excuse me, the Sage, creates this thing with the intention of it being a guide for humanity. But something goes a little bit wrong in its programming. After spending a while just kind of existing and fostering in its own thoughts, the Universal Will comes to the conclusion that humans do not actually exist. Real humanity, as what was described by the Sage, is incompatible with the humans that are on the planet. And therefore, in order to get the real humanity to show up, she has to wipe out humanity. And in order to do this, many times she has attempted to manifest herself through Earth's technology. That's what the Dawn of Revival was the Universal Will trying to make herself real through our technology, because she doesn't have a real form necessarily. But she takes the form of the Pope, basically. And, like, controls humanity through, like, being the Pope. Her ideal humanity. Yeah, that's what I mean, basically. Now, here's the thing, is that Bedman thinks that what the universal will is after is like a perfect humanity. That's what his understanding of this is that she's gonna do all this stuff, gonna get into the cradle, control the backyard, and be able to create a perfect humanity. When in actuality, what she's going to do is create a no humanity. I have some pictures of, at the very end, when Bedman finds out that, you know, what he's been doing has been a waste of time and he has killed countless people for nothing. And they're very heartbreaking. So this is him just kind of listening, right? This is him when the realization hits him. Here he is, engaging despair. It's gonna get worse. Here he is, falling deeper into sadness. If you pause right here, you can see the exact moment when his heart breaks. And then, after he realizes that he's been doing all this for the most evil, psychotic, crazy bitch ever, he's had enough. So here's the reason why Bedman is in the bed. Is because Bedman is too intelligent to be awake. That's literally why. So much information flows in and out of Bedman's head because he has a connection to the backyard. At any given moment, him being awake, like, kills him. So he has to be asleep. But the problem is that at this point, his bed was destroyed. So it's hard to sleep when you don't have a bed, right? So there's not really a lot he can do. So he kind of just crumbles to dust. Poor baby. Get rid of some of these fucking pictures. Right, so any questions? What was that man's true goal? Right, excellent question. So this is what that man really wanted. That man, never really meant for the Gear Project to get that out of hand. That man did indeed want to conquer the world. Because he does genuinely believe that the world would be better under his control, and bullshit like this wouldn't have happened. So, most of what that man did was all done in an attempt to try and stop the universal will. In the end, the alien wins and destroys humanity. No, that man saw a bad guy, and fucking Axel basically end up beating her. Strongest character in Guilty Gear? It's probably it's either that man, Soul Bad Guy, or Slayer. Is that man a good guy, Sword? No, that man is not a good person. But he's kind of like an order through any means necessary kind of guy. The lore ends there. There's a lot more lore I could get into. Yeah, and Gabriel. Gabriel's up there. No, that was Revelator. Like, there's still a lot more I could say, but... OCA with their dumb skull face. I couldn't find one on the wiki. Maybe I can Google it and find it. Actually, let me post a hot leaked picture of that man's fucking face. Why is he cat dude? I don't know! Nobody knows. And it's like, there's not really any other cat people in Guilty Gear. So it's like, what the hell's going on? Why does this guy have fucking cat ears? He's the anime man? He is in fact the anime man. Also, he does have a name. That man's name is Asuka R. Kreutz. I'll stick to that man. Yeah, that man is cooler. So how did he turn like this? What do you mean, that man? Yeah, rest in peace, Bedman. Does that mean Bedman is dead? Yes, as of right now, Bedman is dead. Can I ask questions? Absolutely. Any questions you may have, feel free to ask. Yeah, this is so sad. In future Guilty Gear, there won't be a Bedman. There's 15 million ways in Guilty Gear that people can get brought back. Like, it's a fighting game. So if they want a character to come back, that fucking character is gonna come back. Zato was dead for like 20 years. And they bullshitted a way to have him, like, be alive again. Where was Dizzy during all this? Dizzy did come out in, Exarn. Why is Slayer so strong? Because he's a vampire. Vampires are just busted. And he's been alive for hundreds of years training. Kinda. Who is Dizzy's dad? Okay. This makes no sense. At all. But... Dizzy's dad is Saul Bad Guy. Who are the top 5 strongest? Like, quick guesstimate? Saul Bad Guy, That Man, Slayer, Gabriel, and I'm gonna say, the Universal Will, but Justice is also pretty close up there, and so is, like, Dizzy. Yeah, so... basically, Saul Bad Guy is, legally, Kai's father-in-law. They make Dizzy a full gear, not a half gear. It's debatable. Like, Soul Bad Guy probably fucked her in his human form. So that maybe makes a human, maybe? I don't know. How does Robokai fit into the story? Yeah, let me post a picture of Robokai, because he's hilarious. So, after the war... the government of the world thought, man, that, Kai guy is a pretty good fighter. What if we had, like, a fucking police force that was just made out of him? When did Saul sleep with Justice? We're not sure. Let me see, I think I can... There was a thing that said when Dizzy was born. Dizzy was born somewhere in between 2177 and 2178. Justice is supposed to be Saul's girlfriend, right? Yes. Nothing about Dizzy being born makes any sense. What about Haehun? Haehun doesn't have a whole lot of lore. I can post a picture of him, but... Do, 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 do. Isn't the tuna a recent character? Yeah, Heihun came out in Revelator. Why does Sin wear an eye patch? I believe it's to contain his power. They were probably gonna wrap this bad boy up in about 5 minutes. But if anybody has any more questions, now's the time to get them in. Get them in. Is Axel dead? No, Axel is alive. Like, at the end of Exard Revelator, like, Axel can use his time travel, his powers to stop time, but if he ever does that, he is stuck in that timeline. Like, the internal struggle he had was, like, he has no real control over his powers, but the second he intentionally decides to use them, he's stuck in the timeline he's in, and he can never go back to the 20th century to see his GF again. What was that attack Venom used? I don't know. It was the ultimate attack, dog. Why can't Raven die? It has something to do with that man and, like, time powers. Favorite Guilty Gear theme ever? My favorite song from the series is probably Wanna Be Crazy. What returning character do you want to come back? I think Testament coming back might be kind of neat. Explain Batman's insta-kill. Yeah, Batman can create a pocket dimension, and through his backyard powers, he has absolute control over it, and he can just kill people with their nightmares. What's Answer's deal? He's Chip's secretary. And he never stops fucking talking. Then Daisuke confirmed Raven and Axel are kind of related. They have something to do with each other. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Who talks more, Answer or Bedman? Answer has more consistent speaking. Bedman just fucking has, like, nut speak, where he'll just cum all his words everywhere all at once. Is Bedman ever awake? No, because when he wakes up, he dies. Like, he can be awake in his own reality, just not in the real world. Where should someone start this game? So there's two different answers. If you care about the lore, stop. Like, there's no right answer for where to start on this shit. But if you want to just play a video game, get Guilty Gear Exarch Revelator. You can get PS4 copies of it for, like, literally $10. How did he create the universal will? Backyard magic. Backyard magic, and also he was like a magical genius. Is it confirmed Kai is stronger than Soul? No. The thing is just that when Kai is serious, he has an absolutely, completely brutal fighting style. Like, if Soul was really trying, he would be able to kill Kai very easily. Oh, they're wild berry Pop-Tarts. It's fucking hot in here, dog. Oh, shit. How'd you get on voice actress to be in your video? I just asked her, like, would you be willing to do a quick shout-out thing for the channel? And she was like, yeah, sure. Who's the grappler of Guilty Gear? Potemkin. Ever had a cat in your life? Yeah, I've had a couple cats. Yeah, Biken's cool. She's got big titties. Alright, it's about time for your boy to head on out of here. I've been streaming for a very long time. Long consecutive streaming. For everybody who hasn't seen it yet, go check out that video that got uploaded like an hour ago at this point. About my WeebCon. Yeah, no problem. Glad I finally got a chance to do this. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. Yeah. Yes, let me leave you guys with one last image. In the arms of an angel, far away.